After reading the book Deep Work, I have learned 21 key principles to help boost your productivity.
Didn't even get to cross.
What's up everyone, my name is Ian McQueeney and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over the book known as Deep Work, written by author Cant Newport, and the 21 different principles that I learned after reading. This video may get a little lengthy, so if you'd like to skip to any part in the video, make sure to check out the timestamps down below in the description. Before getting started, the term deep work as derived from the book is known as professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive abilities to their limit. Ultimately, these efforts help create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate. On the flip side of that, Cal also talks about shallow work, which is known as non-cognitively demanding, logistical style tasks often performed while distracted. Notice the key word there is distracted. These efforts tend not to create much more new value as they're easy to replicate. So as you can see, it's basically the opposite of deep work. This sends us to our first point, which is focus on doing deep work and not shallow work. By working deeply with no distractions, you are more likely to get more done in less amount of time. If you're always being stimulated or distracted by other things like emails, messages, social media, Netflix, etc., the time it will take to complete that task will take much longer as you are not fully focused on that thing. In order to learn something extremely complex, like computer programming for example, you need to have an intense, uninterrupted concentration, which is also known as deep work. Unfortunately, as a society, no one really works deeply anymore, as everyone is basically stimulated and distracted by an outside source. There are ways to change that, however, which I will cover later in the video. Number 2, your skills are more valuable than technology. Unfortunately, technology is racing ahead of anything right now, while most of our personal skills and organizations are lagging behind. This is due to the lack of deep work. There are 3 main groups that will benefit from these circumstances. These 3 groups consist of people who can work well and creatively with intelligent machines, those who are best at what they do, and those with access to capital. If you cannot join one of these groups, you may still perform well, but your position may be less secure. So how can you join one of these groups, you may ask? That brings us to number 3, which is mastering the art of quickly learning and adapting to complicated things. Now this one is very important. With time, things will begin to change, which means society will have to change with it too. If you don't adapt quickly to the changes that have already taken place, you will unfortunately be left behind until you catch up to those who have already made the switch themselves. Quickly learning complicated things like coding, for example, takes a lot of focus, also known as deep work, which is also known as depth. To learn hard things quickly, you have to focus intensely with no distractions. In other words, to learn is an act of deep work. Number 4, deep work allows you to produce more. A lot more. Adam Grant is a key figure in the section of the book. As a teacher, he batches his teaching in the fall, which allows him to fully research in the spring and summer, giving him the ability to tackle his work with less distraction. He uses the law of productivity to his advantage. This formula consists of maximizing intensity while working to maximize the results produced per unit of time spent working. Linking us to number 5, don't multitask ever. When you multitask, your mind is always stuck on the original task while you're doing something else. This ultimately makes you more distracted and makes it harder to focus, as that main task is still at the forefront of your mind while doing anything. A good example would be texting someone before doing a task like reading. So when you're reading, you'll probably be thinking about when and what that person may respond with. As stated, people experiencing attention residue after switching tasks are likely to demonstrate poor performance on that next task. The more intense the residue, the worse the performance. Number 6, most people cannot work deeply because they want to do what's easiest. Saying that, deep work takes a lot of focus and sacrifice. This consists of scheduling time blocks for certain tasks, deleting social media, not checking emails, and spending time alone. Believe it or not, a lot of people struggle to spend time alone, so if you're able to do that, you're a very dangerous person psychologically and mentally. Many people like to do what's easy, which is like fitting in with the crowd, constantly scrolling on social media, checking emails, and always comparing themselves to other people. Once you master the art of doing everything the opposite of that, your life will be full of more productivity and success because you're getting rid of the unnecessary. This brings us to number 7, which is just because you're busy doesn't mean that you're being productive. A lot of people partake in things that take up a lot of their time, making them think that they're being productive. But in reality, all that busy time may actually just be procrastinating with you doing something to get your mind off of doing something else. This could be going on Netflix marathons, going luxury shopping, texting and responding to texts and emails, etc. But these activities are actually depth-destroying behaviors, which means it makes it more difficult to focus at one thing at a time. If this busyness becomes a part of reality, it may seem like you're doing a lot, but in reality you're not. Ooh, that was a fire bar, bro! To be productive, you need to be in a focused state with only one thing on your mind. Doing something that will benefit you in some way in the future. So once you complete that one objective, you can then move on to the next. Number 8, deep work allows you to learn more not only about a subject, but also about yourself. What we choose to focus on and what we choose to ignore takes a huge role in our life. The skillful management of attention is a key to a good life, and basically improving every aspect of your experience. For example, if you only focus on negative things, your life will become more unhappy and dark. But if you begin to focus on more positive things, your life will become more pleasant. As stated from the book, who you are, what you think, feel, and do, what you love, is the sum of what you focus on. What you choose to focus on exerts significant leverage on your attitude going forward. It is all constructed mentally. Number 9, jobs are easier to enjoy more than free time. Now you may be thinking, what the did this guy just say? But in reality, since these jobs are flow activities, they have built-in goals, feedback rules, and challenges which encourage one to become more involved in one's work. However, free time is a lot more unstructured and encourages a lot more work and effort to be shaped into something that can be enjoyed. In the reading, an experiment was taken on a group of people, and it was measured that those who worked were actually happier than those who were relaxing. This ultimately goes to show why the technological advancements have not helped our emotions or our mental states as a society. Number 10, you have a finite amount of willpower that becomes depleted the more you use it. In other words, your willpower is like a muscle that tires out. Over time, these distractions that pop up while trying to be in a focused state drain our pool of willpower until we can no longer resist. The best way to add these good intentions into your work life is to use routines and rituals, which are designed to minimize the amount of your limited willpower, necessary to transition and maintain a state of unbroken concentration. Number 11 is deciding your depth philosophy. There are a lot of different philosophies that will allow you to be more accountable when it comes to doing deep work, which I'll be listing right now. First is the monastic philosophy, which is the attempt to maximize deep efforts by either removing or minimizing the amount of shallow work. Next is bimodal philosophy, which is when you divide your time to focus on something or a task for a period of time and leaving some time open to focus on other things. There is also rhythmic philosophy, which argues that the easiest way to consistently do deep work sessions is by turning it into a daily habit. An example of this would be putting an X on a calendar date for every day that you do a certain task or habit. So the more you see the X's in a row on the calendar, the more likely you will feel like you don't want to break the chain, holding yourself more accountable to do that task every single day. Following is a journalist philosophy, where you basically fit in deep work whenever you have free time. I do not recommend this one unless you are extremely disciplined. And now lastly, this one isn't a philosophy, but it's more of a ritual, and it's when you use the reward system to your advantage. Basically, take 2 hours out of your day to focus solely on one task, and once you finish that task, you can get the reward, whether it's eating some nice food, going on social media, or spending time with friends or family. All you're doing is basically making yourself work on a task to get a reward in return. That one is probably my favorite. Number 12 is change your environment. This one is huge. Each environment you place yourself in has a huge impact on who you are and what you think. If you go to new places to learn new things, you're most likely going to learn more about yourself by discovering new avenues and opportunities within. It helps you learn more about what you want for yourself, and it allows you to get a lot more work done, depending on the environment that you're in. Sometimes to go deep, you first must go big. Number 13, isolation is not required for productive deep work. Collaborative deep work can actually produce better results for some people. By working side by side on a problem with somebody else, you're basically pushing each other to a deeper level of depth, which can ultimately create a more valuable output. Consider the use of collaboration whenever appropriate. It can really push your results to the next level. However, do not break this collaborative effort in deep work, as it will basically destroy the depth of that work and will make it harder to focus and get that task done. So stay focused. Now number 14 is the 4 disciplines of execution. Discipline number 1 is focus on the wildly important. The more you try to do, the less you actually accomplish. Discipline number 2 is act on lead measures. First, let's start out with both lag and lead measures. Lag measures describe the thing that you're ultimately trying to improve. Lead measures measure the behavior that drive the success of the lag measures. For an individual focused on deep work, the lead measure would be the time spent in a state of deep work that is dedicated to your wildly important goal. Hope you guys like the blue hoodie, by the way. It's getting a little chilly in here, so I had to strap up, you know what I'm saying? I'm just playing, it's the next day. Discipline number 3 is keep a compelling scoreboard. have a place where you record and track your lead measures. This creates a sense of competition that allows you to focus more on that lead measure with other things at hand. People play differently when they're keeping score. Discipline number 4 is keep a cadence of accountability. Simply put together a frequent and regular form of meetings with yourself to go over your important goals. This holds you more accountable and it allows you to stay more focused on the task at hand. Number 15 is mandate downtime for yourself. Your body and mind needs a state of recharging after such deep work. By always being focused on completing work, you're going to burn out with time, which will allow you to not perform at a high level. After completing an important task for the day, don't look at anything that has to do with it for the remainder of the day, and just save it for tomorrow. Any tasks that still need to be completed, just write them down at the end of every night for tomorrow, and then do it the next day. Make it a necessity to be lazy and don't overdo it. Your body needs time to recharge. If you're in high school and you still got homework due tomorrow and it's midnight, go to bed. Do it in the morning. I'm serious. Just do it. Nikki! Number 16 is work like Teddy Roosevelt. First, identify a task that is high on your priority list, and estimate how long you'd normally put aside for a task of this type. The only way to get work done now is with great intensity. Try this experiment no more than once a week at first. This will help you better reach deadlines for certain tasks, or for complex tasks. But it will also help with resisting urges that make you distracted. And then lastly, what Teddy Roosevelt does whenever he had any free time is spend that extra time doing things that please you and make you happy. Whether it's hanging out with friends, family, traveling, going out to eat, etc. Just go have fun. And that's why you gotta get your shit done before you can have fun. Number 17 is productive meditation. There are multiple different ways to meditate, but you don't actually have to keep your eyes closed for every single type. There's a form of meditation known as productive meditation that allows you to basically do daily tasks or habits throughout the day, but basically all you're doing is staying conscious and allowing your thoughts to come in and you're just observing them. Focus on nothing else other than listening to your thoughts, feeling your feelings, and not being distracted. Try to do this at least 2 to 3 times per week. Now keep in mind this form of meditation does take some practice, so don't get frustrated if you don't see results the first few times. If any distractions pop up, just notice them and let them pass by. Just don't put any attention towards it. Number 18 is quit social media. Social media as a whole does not add any value to one's life unless you're using it for maybe business purposes. Some may say, oh, it's how I stay in contact with friends and family, or oh, I gotta see the news, I gotta see what's happening. Blah, 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 blah. Those things aren't really benefiting you, they're only stimulating you. By using these social media apps, you're always comparing yourself to somebody else. This makes people think more down about themselves because they're not as pretty as this girl, or they're not in Bora Bora with their hot boyfriend. People need to learn to appreciate what they have now and let everything else unfold as it should, without having to worry what other people are doing. Let's say you took 30 days off from using social media. Take these 2 questions and answer them for yourself. Would the last 30 days be notably better if I was able to use this service? And the next one is, did people care that I wasn't using this service? If the answer to both those questions is no, quit those apps or those services permanently. If your answer was a very clear yes, then return to using that service. If you aren't sure what your answer is, it's probably best that you remove that app or that service as well. This is derived from the book too, by the way, so this is just so you guys know I'm not being a wise ass. Ultimately, just use social media to your advantage and not to entertain yourself. Produce and don't consume. You ever notice how you get so sick or feel so sick after scrolling for so long? That's because you're consuming an overload of stimulation from these apps that you don't really need. To eliminate the addictive pull of these apps or social media on your time and attention, take it and put it towards something that's actually of better quality. Whether it's reading, working out, cooking, anything that doesn't have to do with social media or just being stimulated by an outside source. Social media equals bad. Number 19 is giving yourself more time does not mean that you will be able to get more work done. There's a very famous analogy that I'm about to say that is basically very true when it comes to this point. Now let's say you have to clean your room, and you give yourself 3 hours to clean this room. By the end of those 3 hours, the room will be clean. But what if you gave yourself 30 minutes instead? At the end of those 30 minutes, your room would also be clean. So ultimately, it comes down to how much time you allow yourself to complete a task or an objective. If you give yourself too much time, you will see very minimal results. But if you set strict deadlines, you are likely to get a lot more done in a less amount of time more effectively. Number 20 is plan out every single minute of your day. Set time blocks within your schedule for tasks that need to be completed within that structure of time. Do this by either organizing it in a journal or on a great website that I recommend, Notion. Make a blocker space for the amount of time you're going to allow yourself to put towards this task or objective. When this period of time presents itself, take action and work until that time is up. If you are disrupted during this patch of time, feel free to adjust your schedule accordingly to get maximum productivity for the day despite there being a change in plans. This can be a very hard and tedious plan to handle, but it will help with your ability to focus and to get things done in a timely manner. Now lastly, number 21 is finish your workday by 5:30 p.m. Don't do any work later than that. By ending your workday at 5:30, you are allowing yourself to decompress and prepare for the next day. You don't have to stress about any emails or messages coming in, you just go full shutdown mode. Get your main tasks done early in the day so that later in the day you can focus on main tasks that matter, like spending time with friends and family and partaking in activities that make you feel like yourself. Don't do work when it isn't necessary. Get what needs to be completed for the day done and leave the rest for tomorrow. As you can see, deep work is way more powerful than people may understand. Yes, it can be difficult to actually discipline yourself to work deeply and set scheduled deadlines, but it will help you with becoming more proficient with your work, and it also allows you to get more done in less time. This is the skill that allowed Bill Gates to build a billion-dollar industry in just one semester. Now I'm just going to put this out there. Deep work is not for everybody, so if this does not interest you, that is completely fine. It requires a lot of hard work and may require you to change your habits. But if you're willing to do the work, you'll discover that depth generates a rich life of productivity and purpose. As stated from the book, live the focused life because it is the best kind that there is. Alrighty y'all, that's all I got for this video. Make sure to leave a comment down below of what types of videos you'd like to see in the future, and let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. But lastly, if you'd like to see how I was able to generate $1,500 just as a 7th grader from YouTube, check out this video right here. Once again, my name is Ian McQueeney, and I will catch y'all on the flip. Peace out!